The Arizona Cardinals are in win now mode. And you could tell that by simply the age of the players that they're signing and trading for. But they have made some nice additions to this roster for 2021. Specifically at the center position, Rodney Hudson, one of the better centers in the NFL, they get from the Las Vegas Raiders. Hudson and a 7th round pick for a 3rd round pick. Now, quite expensive. I think a 3rd round pick is probably more than I thought for a expensive older center. But Hudson is one of the better centers in the league. You know, many people would consider him at least top 10. So Hudson, pass blocking wise, is going to bring one of the best pass blockers, one of just a stable force for Kyler Murray. And again, I've talked about this many times throughout the offseason. I think having a center with a young quarterback is a huge thing for protection. It's a huge thing for experience, like growth of a young quarterback. I think it is a much bigger deal than we make it out to be. Having that center that can really help a young quarterback's development, like a Hudson with a Kyler Murray, could allow Kyler Murray to take that next step. Not only that, but he's a great player, and Rodney Hudson is going to solidify the middle, anchor the middle of this offensive line, and Kyler will not have to worry about pressure coming in his face. Because here's the thing with Kyler Murray, right? Kyler Murray is a short quarterback. I know you know that. So when the center is getting manhandled and getting beaten around, getting thrown around, the pressure in Kyler Murray's face is a major issue, okay? So by having a great center who can hold down and anchor that middle, it allows Kyler Murray cleaner pockets. It allows him to move around and step up and move away from pressure instead of having pressure right in his face. Guys backed up into his face, so that because he's smaller, he can't throw over guys, or throw around guys the same way bigger quarterbacks can. So it minimizes one of his biggest weaknesses. You combine that with Rodney Hudson being very good, moving in space as a run blocker. And that's what the Cardinals want. They wanted Corey Linsley. Rodney Hudson is fairly similar in that way. He's not as good of a run blocker, in my opinion, as Corey Linsley. He's probably just as good, maybe a tad below, of a pass blocker. But Hudson can move in space, do all those sort of things. The zone scheme, the outside zone, Hudson's going to be great at moving. This is the same thing with the Kyle Shanahan getting Alex Mack. The center getting to the second level and making plays, that's going to be big to open up the run game for Kyler Murray, for Chase Edmonds, and for the Cardinals' rushing attack. So Rodney Hudson, I like this move a lot because I've really wanted the Cardinals to get better on the offensive line. And I think this move makes them a lot better on the offensive line, specifically at one of their worst spots on the offensive line. So then you move to A.J. Green at wide receiver. A.J. Green was very weird last year because I think when you watch A.J. Green, you see moments of like, wow, that's A.J. Green. Like, he's still A.J. Green. He's still awesome. You see flashes of like, oh, he's wide open, but Joe Burrow missed him. Like, you see those two. And then you see other moments where like, he got targeted 11 times and caught 3 passes. Like, what the heck is going on? So he was fairly inefficient, but like the tape would suggest he's still kind of good. So it's a weird thing here. I think A.J. Green will be it will be interesting to see if he's the number 2 or the number 3. Because like, he could easily be better than Christian Kirk, but he could easily be worse than Christian Kirk. So I think he'll be one of the 3 starting receivers for this offense. The other thing about A.J. Green is he's fairly similar to DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I think you could look at DeAndre Hopkins, and A.J. Green is not as good as DeAndre Hopkins at this point, but like, DeAndre Hopkins was like A.J. Green after A.J. Green. Like, great body control, big hands, like great leaping ability, contested, all that sort of stuff. Not the best route runners, not always wide open, but could catch the ball anywhere you place it. And A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins are similar in that regard. So another big target, another red zone target that Kyler just has to chuck it up there, get it in the vicinity, and allow AJ to make a play. So as a number 2, number 3-ish type, kind of guy, not bad. I don't hate it. I don't think AJ Green's going to wow you this year. I don't think he's really anywhere near he used to be. He's not a number 1 anymore, but he can make enough plays. He will have some games where he has a big game. So we'll see maybe how another offseason of health does him as well. You never know. So AJ Green, 1-year deal, decent money, not super expensive. So I don't hate that move. I think I would have, again, preferred maybe more assets going. I think they needed a receiver. Don't get me wrong, but I would have preferred more assets going to the secondary or the offensive line. But AJ Green, another weapon for Kyler. Replaces Larry Fitz as that veteran presence in the locker room. I don't hate it. Then you go to the kicker. You get Matt Prater. Matt Prater is the funniest kicker in the NFL. Bro, point blank, period. 2-year deal, $7 million. This guy's got a leg and a half. I mean, he can boot it from 66, 65, right? But he can also miss a 34-yard field goal. Like, Matt Prater, there's nowhere in between. He can be very good. He could be very bad, okay? Matt Prater is just inconsistent. In the same game, he can hit a 63-yard field goal and miss a 30-yard field goal. So, inconsistency will drive you nuts, but at the same time, Prater has a boot and a leg that allows your team to kick from a way further distance, and you will trust him in big moments. He does make those kicks. So, don't hate this signing at the kicker position as well. Matt Prater is just a hilarious kicker. He's awesome. So overall, the Cardinals get 3 players that will start, help their team, and make them better in 2021. Some veteran names, some older names, and even some names that might be on their way to Canton, but not some names that are what they used to be necessarily. So let me know where you guys are at, Cardinals fans, in terms of why do we keep signing all these old guys that were like good in 2014 but aren't as good anymore? Like, let me know how you feel about that and if you feel good about bringing in AJ Green, Rodney Hudson, and Matt Prater.